Good evening, everyone, and welcome out to Speed Racing Network. My name is Sean Griffith. I am here with Jonathan Byer, one of the better drivers that we have in the truck series. How's it going tonight, Jonathan?
It's good tonight. You know, we weren't feeling great last week, but we've rebounded well, and nothing makes me feel better than watching some good racing, so I'm hoping tonight's show is good.
Well, you know, last night's race was actually pretty good. We had some early cautions, but everybody kind of got it figured out, and it turned out to be a really, really fun race to watch. I'm expecting kind of the same thing here tonight at Phoenix.
Yeah, it really did turn into a nice race last night. Once everybody got spread out and there was a little bit more space, guys were just able to manage their stuff, and it turned into quite an interesting battle of strategy there with the caution coming out during green flag pit stops. And so, you know, all that just adds folds to the race that we love to see, so I'm hoping we see the same tonight, and I don't have any doubts that we will.
Well, we are here in the playoff round of 11, not 10, but 11, because there was a tie on the cut line and it just got all messy and all that stuff. So we have 11 drivers all trying to get those top 5 positions to make it into the next round. We're here at Phoenix Raceway for 150 laps around this 1 mile, really, really kind of strange oval.
Yes, it was reconfigured and just rescanned by iRacing. It is strange is a good word for it. 150 laps is a long time around here. They do have plenty of sets of tires to get them there, as tire wear would be kind of excessive at times. But, man, I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
Definitely. Well, let's get this thing started, and let's talk about the league details really, really quickly, because everybody knows what's going on, and we're so deep into it now. We're not changing. So, fixed setups, no fast repairs, $10 a week to get in, but that $10 a week gets you the opportunity to win $500 for first place in the league.
You can never forget about the team championships, which we'll dive into here in a little bit, Sean. $200 paid out to the top finishing team.
Definitely, and so that team championship, we'll talk about that in just 1 second, but for tonight, $30 to first place, $20 for second, third, fourth, and fifth all get $10, so just a little bit enough to kind of entice you to still do well.
That's what keeps our non-playoff drivers coming back every week, Sean. There's a little bit of money to be had.
But the playoff drivers, they are all vying for that that $500 first place, not the $1,000. That's the other league. So $500 first place, $300 for second, $180 for third, $120 for fourth. Fifth place gets $80. And then new this season, Jonathan, 6th, 7th, and 8th place are getting paid also.
That's awesome, Sean. It gives those other drivers that may not made that final 5 a chance to get a little season-ending cash, but everybody's chasing that $500 for first place.
Well, and if you need to know exactly what to do with that money, then all you have to do is go to beerstreetjournal.com and check out the beer of the week, because this week it's not even a beer, but it's fantastic. Just when you thought every weird alcoholic drink had been invented, think again. This week's Beer of Street Journal Beer of the Week isn't even a beer at all. It's a pair of vodkas that are being released next week by Arby's. Yes, that Arby's. The fast food restaurant Arby's. Well, their fries are really good too, and those fries are the inspiration behind these vodkas. This special edition vodka is infused with crinkle and curly fry flavor, so Arby's fans who are of legal drinking age can responsibly enjoy their menu from bag to bottle. Just imagine a roast beef sandwich, a large order of fries, and a Bloody Mary made with Arby's Curly Fry Vodka. Well, that can be a reality starting November 18th when the special edition bottles go on sale. So don't miss out on Arby's Vodka. The Beer of the Week is brought to you by BeerStreetJournal.com, the leading online publication for craft beer reviews. Go to BeerStreetJournal.com to find your next great beer or other alcoholic beverage. And as always, you must be 21 to enjoy, and please drink responsibly. That's right, the beer of the week this week, not even a beer, but we could not pass up the chance to get this name out there. The Arby's Vodka, the curly fry and crinkle fry flavor. I don't really know what to make of it, Jonathan.
I do like Arby's, but not quite sure about this concoction they got going on here. Probably for somebody else to try and let me know how it is, but definitely an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, those special edition bottles are going out onto the shelves on November 18th. So if you have a fear of missing out, don't miss out on Arby's Vodka. But let's go into the team championships, and this is really starting to turn into a really good Final Four here.
Get to the Final Four here, it's going to be all good teams, and that's exactly what we have here. You'll notice that we don't even have our 1 seed here anymore. That's just how packed all these teams are and how capable they all are of being the top dog. But both of these matchups tight. We'll get into them.
Yeah, and I mean, all four of these teams would be great champions of this team battle. But let's take a look at this number 4 versus number 8. It's kind of weird to have a number 4 versus number 8 in the second round, but JW Racing did a great job making it through the number 1 seed, and here they are. But R&D Motorsports kind of putting them in their place right now.
Yeah, this is going to be a tight battle all the way to the very, very end. And JW is a team that's really impressed me, especially ever since the playoffs got started. They did upset our number 1 seed, but they're just hitting the stride at the right time. And man, this is going to be a battle to watch for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, keep in mind that JW Racing kind of came onto the scene really late. They came in right before we cut off the teams, and so because of that, that's why they ended up in the 8th seed. It had nothing to do with them being good or bad. It just happened to be that's where they ended up because they started so late. But because of that, they had the opportunity to knock off Rev Racing, and they did that. But R&D Motorsports is not going to go down without a fight.
No, it's going to be a point-for-point fight. Every position's 1 point, and this could come down to a couple positions deciding between which one of these teams moves on.
Really quick before we move on, I have to point out Corey Saucier with a 6th place finish, and Corey was one of the best Truck Series drivers we had last season. Really has had a down year here in the Xfinity Series, but it looks like he has maybe finally caught his stride.
I got to race with him all year last year, Sean. Incredible driver. We had a lot of good battles up front, and I know what he's capable of, and so that 6th place finish doesn't shock me, and he can be a big contributor to R&D going down the stretch.
Well, the other side of the coin here, Tank Racing versus Striker Motorsports. Now, this one, it's not out of control yet, but Tank Racing just had a heck of a week last week.
Tank Racing packed with really, really good drivers, but Striker is one of those teams that just strikes me as consistent week in and week out. They're not going to let you get too far away. I think that's what's going to happen here. Schumacher put on an absolute clinic last week and bringing 45 points home to his team, and that's going to give you that team lead no matter how you cut it. But I could see this battle tightening up a little bit after tonight.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to point out a couple people here. So Mike Lepicki with a 12th place finish last week, which, again, he's had a really down season this season, but he's one of those drivers that could pop off a top 5 at any moment. On the other end, Brandon Domain, one of the better drivers in this series that did not make the playoffs. And so just beware, just because Brandon Domain is not in the playoffs does not mean that he will not take you out.
That's right, and that still means, like you said, Sean, there's non-playoff drivers still fighting for a lot here for their teams, and that's just case in point right there. And another name I see on the screen is Vincent Cortez. He's a playoff driver with us, and we've picked him to possibly win the last couple weeks, and so he's another one that could pop off for Tank Racing.
Oh, we're going to get into Vincent Cortez here in just a second, but let's talk about our playoff drivers. So, like we said, top 11, not top 10, because there was a tie on the cut line. And if you look at that cut line right now, only 3 points separates 5th place Seth Reid and 6th place Aaron Gerwitz and Tristan Bailey.
And 3 points is the same distance between the cut line and the Truck Series as well. But in our top 5 right now, we got Schumacher, Bain, Tucker, Cortez, and Reid. All had a really good week last week. They're going to try to do their best to stay in that green area. But, Sean, let's get into our playoff drivers.
Yeah, let's start talking about these guys, and let's start off with Adrian Schumacher, who won last week. Now, we don't have a picture of Adrian, and we don't even know where he lives. Only Chuck Norris does, but we are going to call him Mr. When It Counts, because during the season, his average finish was 15th, but here in the playoffs, his average finish has been 6th.
That's impressive. He put on an absolute clinic last week as well, in a track that's very technical. So, Phoenix has some technicalities as well. I expect him to be fast tonight.
Next up, we got Jordan Bain, and we're going to call him Mr. Top 10. You can see there an average start of 9th and average finish of 8th. So obviously he's got a lot of top 10s. In fact, 80% of his races he has finished inside the top 10.
Really impressive, and just finishing 80% of your races sometimes can be an achievement, but just doing it in the top 10 is really impressive. Not to mention, he is currently the top on the speed chart in qualifying right now, so we've seen him start up front, and that's helping him finish up front in the playoff.
Yeah, you can also see there he's also the cleanest driver that we have in the playoffs as well, so clean driving goes a long way to getting those top 10. So Jordan Bain is well on his way to possibly another one here tonight.
Absolutely. And then third, we have Rhett Tucker. Speaking of clean, he has 2 clean races in this playoff. with an average playoff finish of 4th. He's turning it up at the right time. He did win at Richmond this year, so he's capable of winning races, and he's another one that's heating up at just the right time, and he's finding himself 3rd.
Yeah, he's always towards the front of the pack. In fact, it's really rare to see a race that you don't mention his name at some point in the race as either the leader or right there in the mix for that lead. So he knows how to get around the track, and that is something that here at Phoenix you desperately need, is that experience.
And that's why we're calling him Mr. Playoff Time, Sean. He's found the speed in the playoffs, and he's found it at the right time.
All right, now you mentioned Vincent Cortez, and we got to talk about Vincent Cortez a little bit. So we're going to call him Mr. Never the Groom, and the reason we're calling him that is he's got the best starting position in the playoffs. He's got the second best finishing position in the playoffs. He's got the most top 5s out of anybody in the playoffs, but he only has 2 podium finishes and no wins. So he's always right there in 4th or 5th, but it's rare to see him in the top 3, and we haven't seen him on the podium or on the finishing tower yet at all.
Well, you just look at his average start of 8th and average finish of 11th. That just screams consistency, and that backs up those stats that you just gave us. Consistent, and consistent's going to get you to that final round of the playoffs. However, to win the championship, he's probably going to need a little bit better than that, but he can start by catching a little bit of momentum here in this round.
Yeah, we keep throwing his name out there as a potential winner. If he doesn't do it quickly, then I'm going to stop calling his name out.
Sounds good. We have Seth Reid sitting in that 5th spot, our cutoff spot right now. We have him, Mr. Fast Starter. He starts inside the top 10, 62% of the races, and obviously when you start up front, that's going to give you a really good chance of finishing there as well.
Yeah, especially here at Phoenix, where sometimes it can be very, very difficult to pass. Even though there's so many different lanes to play here, sometimes it just ends up being that outside lane and really tough to pass on the inside.
I agree. Phoenix is one of the harder tracks to pass at, but right now he's backing up his stat. He's 2nd on the qualifying charts as we speak, so living true to his name, Mr. Fast Starter.
I'm shocked. I'm absolutely not shocked at all. Anyway, Aaron Gerwitz is up next here, and we're going to call him Mr. Reliable. So he's only had 2 races outside of the top 20, but he's only had 3 races inside the top 5. So for the most part, he's right there in that 5th to 20th place range. And yeah, that might be a very, very comfortable place for him to be, and so far it's working for him. However, when we're about to cut down to the top 5 drivers in the series, he's going to have to do just a little better than that.
Yeah, that's right, Sean. And, when you see between 5 and 5th and 20th, that's just a points-collecting driver, and that might work really well for the team championship because you're backing your team with points. But you're right, he's going to need a little bit more to kind of contend for that title.
Next up, we got Tristan Bailey, and we're going to call him Mr. Boom or Bust. And that's not an insult. It's just kind of how things have shaken out. 2 wins, 8 top 10s, but anytime he's not in the top 10, he basically finishes 28th or worse.
He does have 2 wins on the season, so he knows how to boom. But, we saw that bust a little bit earlier in the playoffs when he had that wreck. I think it was at Kentucky. And so, luckily, it didn't cost him. He was able to make it into this round of 11. But those are things you have to clean up as we get towards the end of the playoffs and we keep cutting down on drivers.
Next up, our broadcast partner, Greg Olenek, and we're going to call him Mr. Cutoff Week Clutch because his average finish for cutoff week races is 4th. So he did really well to get into the playoffs itself, but he was one of those drivers that was tied on the cut line to make it into this second round.
Greg's one of those guys. He knows when he needs points, and he's going to go get it. And that cutoff week is right. That's just what he does. But, he's still collecting points for Rev Racing as well. We see a couple other drivers in the playoffs, and so I expect him to make a full-fledged effort tonight.
Next up, Bo Tiffany, and I'm kind of surprised to see Bo down this far on the list. He's such a consistent driver, but we're going to call him Mr. Hanging Tough. He made the playoffs by 1 point. He made the second round as the other person that was tied with Greg Olenek. He's only led 2 laps all season long, but he's the second cleanest driver in the playoffs, so he's just always hanging around.
And that's right, Sean. And think about this. We've talked about clean 3 times already as we've gone through our playoff drivers. So that just speaks volume to what you have to have here. And to hang tough, you're going to have to be clean because you're going to have to get every position and every point you can.
Next up, James Shanewolf. Now, he is ranked in as 10th on this list, but we're going to call him Mr. Streaky. And this is a really, really interesting person here. So 2 top 10s, then to 21st place or worse. And it's gone back and forth all season long. So he's got the most laps led by any of the playoff drivers. He was the playoff lucky dog, but Jonathan, if history holds correctly, he's had 2 down weeks. Now he should have an up week this week.
You know what? I can't argue with stats. Numbers don't lie, Sean. But, if he has a good week this week, the cut line is so close, it could put him if not in the green, which is what he needs. So, man, if I was a betting man, I'd put on a good finish tonight.
I mean, if he has 2 good races in a row once again, then that's basically going to put him into the finals. But Tyler Markle is our final driver here. We don't have a picture of him either. He's not Tom Cruise. I can promise you that. But we're going to call him Mr. Slowly but Surely. He improves about 5 spots from start to finish each race.
He's one of those drivers that doesn't qualify up front every race, and I'm kind of the same way. I might not bust out a top lap every race, but you know what? I'm going to find my way towards the front, and he does the same thing. And that's what you have to do to make it through the playoffs. Unfortunately, it just hasn't gone his way after 1 week, but he has 2 more weeks to pick it up.
Well, let's get out there to the track because something interesting is brewing out there right now. If you see the scoreboard here, the green numbers mean they are in the playoffs or in the top 5 of the playoffs. The yellow mean they're in the bottom 6 of the playoffs. The red numbers mean they're not in the playoffs. This is rare that we only have 4 drivers in the playoffs in the top 12.
That is wild, Sean. But, man, look at our front, too. Those are guys we've talked about in extenso in this pre-race show. We got Jordan Bain starting on pole, Vincent Cortez starting second. Very close lap times right there. Seth Reid, we talked about him qualifying well all the time, sitting third. Dean Brummett will start fourth.
Yeah, you got Justin Rideout in 5th for JW Racing. You got Matthew Robinson, his teammate, in 6th. Tristan Bailey from Murray Reedy Motorsports in 7th. Kyle Benson as an independent driver in 8th.
Michael Lark will start in 9th. Michael Lepicki will start 10th, Drew Ballesteros in 11th, and Devin Zimmerman in 12th. Sean, look at that top 12. We got a mix of playoff drivers, non-playoff drivers, and a giant mix of different teams.
Yeah, it is going to be an absolutely incredible race. I'm super excited to get this thing going because you just never know what's going to happen here at Phoenix. We saw that last night, but those drivers are going to get out there onto the track and make the very short way around this 1 mile oval as we get ready to start this thing. But who you picking tonight?
Oh, man, this is tough. You know what? I think it's finally Vincent Cortez's night, Sean. I think it's going to happen. He's got that red, white, and blue paint scheme on. It's Veterans Day. I think he's the man tonight.
You know what? I'm actually going to move forward 1 spot. I'm going to take our pole sitter, Jordan Bain. And that's kind of a cop-out a little bit, but he has just been so consistent throughout these playoffs and throughout this season. I really think he brings it home one more time here tonight.
You know what? And he's a great driver when it comes to strategy, and this race could come down to strategy. Can't argue with either one of our picks. You see a lot of red, white, and blue out there tonight. There's a lot of schemes honoring Veterans Day today, so we'll try to flip through those as we can throughout the race.
Yeah, now this is kind of a strange track where the pace car is already off, so they have to wait until the Geico restart zone right about here to take off. And Jordan Bain takes off, and that is the start of our race. I already hear a little bit of bumping and grinding going back there in the back. Hopefully everybody is safe. We will double check on that. Looks like everybody made it through turns 1 and 2.
Don't see anybody backwards yet, which is a good sign, but that open dogleg, there's a million lanes back there, and so it doesn't take much to touch somebody else, just a slight misjudgment, but so far so good. Everybody's getting through clean. We're going to come around and complete lap 1. Jordan Bain in sole possession of the lead.
Yeah, I almost hesitate to call this an oval because it's just so abnormal.
Sean, it's kind of egg-shaped, actually. It's kind of like a Darlington that doesn't have long straightaways. It's shrunk down, and there's weird quirks, but both corners are completely different. So you have to be paying attention as a driver which end of the racetrack you're in and try to make the most speed out of it. But let me tell you, you see guys coming close to that wall coming off the turn right there. These walls come up quick. Corner exit is really tight, so keeping the right side of that car clean is going to be a key to winning.
Yeah, I have to point out Adrian Schumacher, our points leader right now, started all the way back here in the 29th position. Not sure if there was a problem during qualifying or what, but kind of rare to see him this far back. We'll have to see if he can make it through the pack.
He might just be playing the statistical game. He knows how messy some of these Phoenix races can be, and he might just be starting in the back to kind of just take them as they fall into trouble. But, he's going to have to work his way through if we stay green. We see some tight racing here up front with Cortez.
And the 78 car, that's actually Dean Brummett. He's dropping down from the Cup Series to join these guys here tonight to kind of get some practice in for his race on Sunday.
Yeah, that's why I paused there for a second. Didn't recognize that car. 78's usually a number I
and there he goes!
Oh, and he got the fence. He's going to get the right side of Cortez as well. Big damage to both cars. Phoenix aerodynamic is not the most important thing, but I think it is going to affect.
Oh, and now we've got some big wrecking. That's Devin Zimmerman way up into the wall, and the caution is out for the first time here tonight.
Zimmerman's our 12th place driver, and that thing is crunched up like a tin can. We're going to have to see what happened here, but it looks like the 8 might have been involved too, and that's just a product of being a little aggressive early, but that car is toasted.
Let's go back and find out what happened.
Beer Street Journal Rec replay is what we're going to have here. Please drink responsibly. And we thank our friends at Beer Street Journal for sponsoring this segment. See what happens here. We're on the backstretch. And I'm not sure who that is that goes below the 33
that's
there.
That's the 53. That's Shane Wolf, I believe.
That's a playoff driver making that move. And not enough room to enter the corner there.
Yeah, that's James Shane Wolf. So he is likely going to have some damage here as well.
Take a closer look here because netcode has been a really bad problem since they rescanned Phoenix, but I think that was just a product of both that and because you see that car jump up a little bit. That's what makes me think it might be a netcode related issue, but still not an ideal corner entrance for either driver.
Let's take one more view at it here from a different angle.
53 thinks he has a line there. Yeah, that's just a little combination of both, Sean. I think it's a combination of being a little aggressive and a combination of the iRacing internet service not doing us any help.
Well, and we should be used to that by now, actually, because every race it feels like we have some sort of netcode, whether they were going to be touching or not. And I think in that case they were going to be touching anyway. But here we are under caution for the first time at Phoenix. Only lap 6. What are you doing out there?
I just don't think that's enough laps to warrant coming to get some fresh tires, and you're probably gonna have to get 8 to 10 laps of green flag racing, I think, to reach that threshold. So I think all the leaders are going to stay out. If you're in the back, you might come down here, top off on fuel just to have that extra security, see if you can stay out and gain a bonus point. If the run goes a little bit longer, you'll have a little bit more fuel in the tank, but I think it's too early to come down and get some service.
Yeah, and this, again, this same thing played out last night in the same way, where we basically had 4 cautions in the first 20 laps, and then we had a long green flag run that nobody was expecting at that point. So you really have to kind of pick your poison here. Do you want to come in and act like this is a real pit stop, or do you want to just stay out there and run the risk?
And that's a good point, Sean. But like you discussed, we had a bunch of cautions to fire off last night, and I think that's just a product of nerves. There is a lot at stake here. We're racing for money. We're racing for our sponsors, and we're racing in front of our friends and family online. And sometimes those nerves can get you a little amped up. And last night it just took us a little while to settle down into a rhythm to find some green flag laps, and that might be the same product we're seeing here. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's kind of been the MO of all 3 of our series, actually, where we have 1 or 2 cautions to start off. Everybody settles down and everybody understands where everybody's going to be on the track. So it gets really clean really fast, and hopefully that same thing happens here as they start to double file up and get ready for a restart that Jordan Bain will control.
Yes, and he's going to choose that inside lane. The leader does have choice of line, and we saw Landon last night restart from either lane. He kind of just picked the better line as far as who's behind him and who might give him a push to help. So we'll have to keep an eye on which line the leader chooses as we go through the course of the night, but Bain will be choosing the bottom for this restart.
And they will start that long road towards turn 3, towards that Geico restart zone.
You're right, Sean. They can't restart before that Geico restart zone, so these guys are just amped up, ready to go. Once they hit that blue pattern on the outside wall with the Geico labels, they'll be able to get going.
Go. Jordan Bain takes off. Seth Reid on his outside. Vincent Cortez on the inside trying to go through that hole.
Cortez did not pit there after that damage he sustained on the right side of that car. We'll have to see what happens as we go through the later portions of this race, if he's going to fix that or not. But everybody's fanning out here big time as we get into 1 and 2.
Looks like he's doing just fine with that damaged car. He is up in second, or fighting for second, side by side with Seth Reid.
Like everybody's giving each other a little bit of space here. You know, these cold tires, the car can get a little loose and twitchy and jumpy under you. So the guy's doing a good job of holding on to it right now. The leaders are starting to single file out. We have a couple battles here in the back.
Yeah, Mike Lipicki battling with Greg Olynyk on his outside as they almost touch there as well. And Greg Olynyk, definitely one of those playoff drivers that doesn't want any damage right now because he needs to move up in those standings.
He's going to just have to be methodical here and pick his battles and keep himself out of a big, risky situations. And the 52 washed up right there. The 8 got under him. They almost made contact. But what's going to be important is you're going to have to pick a lane entering this corner and stay in your lane. Because as you go through the corner, certain guys will try to run up on you, and if you can change lanes in the middle of the corner, that could be disastrous. So far so good right here. Greg's washing up a little bit, but he's taking the smart route and not getting himself in trouble and backing off and settling in line.
Well, that's the beauty and the curse here at Phoenix, is that once you get to that dog leg, it is tough to see which lane is actually yours because you're cutting down below that yellow line just like they just did. And so it's kind of tough to see which lane am I supposed to stay in there.
This is one of those tracks where having a real-life spotter can be a huge advantage. And I know some of these guys out here do have somebody spotting in their ear for them tonight. Those drivers are going to have a clear-cut advantage when it comes to going across the dog leg. Oh, we got the 99 at the inside wall. 35's around. 43, 98.
Oh, the 82 of Adrian Schumacher is severely damaged there.
Man, that looks like it started when the 35 got into the 99 back there. But we'll have to double-check. Bunch of cars torn up, a couple playoff drivers as well.
Wow, all sorts of damage. Let's go back to a rec replay and find out exactly how that happened.
Man, and that's not a part of the track I'd figure we'd see much issue. That was on the backstretch, which is the straightest portion of this racetrack. So let's see what happens here. We got 3 wide. Rhett Tucker in the middle there. Oh, looks like the 2 got in the outside wall. Tucker shifted down, and Marcy was right there with nowhere to go, and Schumacher just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, let's head back and check out the overhead view of this. I'm not sure the 2 actually got into the wall there. He just kind of got loose off the wall, I think.
Yeah, he just kind of came down just a touch, and when you're 3 wide at a track this narrow, there's just not enough space, and it's going to be a chain reaction accident that's going to take out a couple playoff drivers. Maybe not for the race. We'll see if they can battle back and get every position they can. Luckily, the 99 held on to it. That's an incredible save right there. That could have been much worse for Rhett Tucker.
Yeah, but the 82 of Adrian Schumacher, our points leader currently, is severely damaged, I believe. So we will go back out to the racetrack and see. And sure enough, there he is in the pits getting some work done on that car right now as the leaders start to come around. He is going to try to get back out there on the track and at least salvage being on the lead lap still.
And the key here is you just need to repair your damage enough to not have any engine damage, not having any power draw. Aerodynamically, you don't need to be in perfect shape to get around this track quickly. So he's just going to make sure he's got enough damage fixed or he's not having any power problems. And then I think he can make that happen and get a few spots and be okay. I don't think it's the end of the race for him.
Jordan Bain still leads this thing. And now, as far as the other playoff drivers are concerned, Seth Reid and Vincent Cortez, all 3 of those, so Jordan Bain, Seth Reid, Vincent Cortez, are all currently in the top 5. Tristan Bailey, our next playoff driver back there in 6th, he is currently outside of the top 5, so this is a very good run for him. And then Greg Olynyk back in 10th is the next one after that. So, again, very rare to see this many non-playoff drivers up there in the top 10.
Yeah, you know, Sean, we're talking about playoff drivers, but you have to look up to the top left corner of the screen and realize we're on lap 15 on 150. We got a long way to go tonight. There's going to be a lot of movers and goers, but those top 3, man, that's where I'd like to be sitting right now. Kind of out of the chaos behind you, running your own race. The only thing you have to think about up there is how you're going to pit and what kind of strategy you're going to deploy, but I definitely like sitting up front where they're at right now.
Yeah, there's just no way to get around some of these wrecks when you're back towards the back of the pack. Wanted to key in really quick on Bo Tiffany and his car. And you can see there, beautiful, beautiful paint scheme there with the Purple Heart on the front.
Absolutely. We love to see it, Sean. You know, our SRN drivers do some of the best patriotic paint schemes, whether it be Memorial Day, Veterans Day, 4th of July, any holiday, we're celebrating it here at SRN, and that's a great scheme. And there is a number 13 on the side of that. You may not be able to see it clearly, but there is, and Bo Tiffany is a beautiful car.
I mean, that number 13 probably wouldn't fly in actual NASCAR, but hey, we're not actual NASCAR.
That's right. We can tell who that is by clicking on him. So we know that's Bo Tiffany, and he's going to try to get that car as close to the front as he can to also help him accumulate a little bit of playoff points tonight. But, man, I think if you can just survive this race, that might be the best option for you.
Yeah, and so far, Aaron Gerwitz back there in 24th, Tyler Markle back there in 26 are our bottom 2 playoff drivers. So they are having their struggles right now. We'll have to keep an eye on them. But Jordan Bain going to get us restarted once again.
Yeah, he just gets such a good jump on the bottom. I think he's going to continue to do that the more restarts we have. And, you know, we see these front 3 or 4 get single file pretty much every time, and then the battle ensues behind him. I hear some bumping and banging back there. I'm not sure if we have anybody around. We definitely do. Rhett Tucker is involved. Saucier. I saw the Schumacher again involved.
Danny Dow, Bo Tiffany involved. Yeah, all sorts of drivers involved in that. I think I saw Dean Brummett in there as well. Let's go and try to sort this one out.
Man, this is a lot like last night. Early, it's just hard to stay off each other, fanning out and trying to funnel down into the corner. We'll have to see what happened here again. But a couple more playoff drivers in trouble.
Wow.
Oh, Gray got a little tap there from the 8. And, man, that's in front of a lot of cars, and that's just what's going to happen when it's in front of the field like that.
Definitely is. Let's see if we can't get another view of that.
Man, that's just coming off the bottom of that dogleg and not really knowing where you're at. That's just a complete misjudgment by Dylan Patterson right there that unfortunately took out a lot of cars. Greg did a great job of saving that and keeping that thing straight. He's just got a little bit of damage on the back corner of that thing, but nothing compared to some of the guys behind him.
Yeah, and Rhett Tucker was involved in that. Let's see it from his point of view here.
See the 8 come off the very bottom there and get right there in the 31, and that's a pretty hard hit to the front of that 99 machine. And it looks like the RPMs didn't drop too bad there, so I don't know if he has a lot of engine damage, but that thing is crunched up on all corners.
Yeah, rough race so far. 3 cautions as we sit right now.
Some of these cars, like the 43 right there, just missing front bumpers completely at this point, which is definitely not what you want to see 19 laps into this race. But, man, this might be a survival race. If you can just not touch anything, you might be guaranteed a top 10 finish at this rate.
Yeah, that 43 is Jack Hedgecox, and he was in the playoffs up until the second round cutoff, but just having a rough go of it here. But so far, Jordan Bain has led every one of these laps, and Seth Reid has been right on his tail.
Look at these front cars, Sean. They don't have a scratch on them. And that's the beauty of being up front at a track like Phoenix is you're just, not as much danger up here as you would find yourself in the back. And so they're going to be just looking to keep those cars clean as we go. And I do honestly think that a clean car is going to end up winning this race.
Definitely. It's going to be rare to have somebody that goes completely clean here at Phoenix or any track that's a mile or less, just because of the close proximity to all the other cars. Even if you do have a long green flag run, you run into lap traffic so much quicker, so it's really hard just to have a completely clean race. But so far, so good. We'll see if we get a long run out of it like we did last night.
That's right, Sean. And while we're under caution, if we can, let's check out that 66 car. My teammate Nathan De La Rosa sitting there in 9th. He's got a nice patriotic scheme on that car for the Mission 22 organization. They do a lot to support our veterans. Their mission is to end veteran suicide. They're a mental health support group for everybody that served this country. We're appreciative that they sponsor us and partner with us. And, we do have some veterans that race on our Jonathan Bio Racing team. We thank them for their service and their support and how they're able to bring us these awesome organizations to work with. And it's an awesome looking car.
Yeah, great looking car, but also Nathan De La Rosa. We have mentioned his name more than a few times in the last few weeks, just being up there in the top 10. So he is coming along as a driver.
That's what I like to see as a team owner, Sean. I can develop drivers. That's what we like to see. And hopefully he can run a complete race tonight and bring that thing home near the top, and we'll get maybe the chance to interview him at the end of this thing. But we're tightening back up here, doubling up, and getting ready to restart this thing. It looks like the field is a little thinner now than it was earlier. And hopefully we can get some green flag laps in here, Sean.
Yeah, one playoff driver still in the pits. Rhett Tucker still in there getting that damage fixed from the last wreck.
And he's just going to stay in it because every position counts. He's not going to duck out of this thing early. We say every week, but I just keep repeating it. Every position's a point. So if you can sit on pit road, get that damage fixed, and maybe a couple other guys drop out of this race, that could be a couple points that keep your playoff hopes alive. So we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Bain and Seth Reid once again come around to the Geico restart zone to get us started for the 4th time here tonight.
Another great restart by Jordan Bain. That's what we've seen all night. It looks like Cortez went all the way down there to get under the 81 machine. They're going to battle coming into 3 here.
We'll see if A, he can make it stick, and B, if he can slide up and take that spot. Oh, it's going to be tough, and yeah, he gets up there and he takes that spot away from Seth Reid.
That's just going to be the only way you could pass on the bottom is going to be a full slide job like that. But man, if the 81 was able to get back to his outside right there, I believe that would have been a different story. But they know it's early. Only 23 laps in, they're going to settle in, and they'll sort that out later.
Yeah, plenty of time here tonight, especially with 150 laps out there. And we're going to have even more laps on Sunday night as we get the Cup Series out here.
I can't wait. The high horsepower, low downforce of this track is extremely entertaining. As you see Cortez diving down low at Bain, trying to get the lead right there. He's just going to get to that quarter panel. Might have a good run off.
Yellow flag.
If Bain can't get the power down, we got more wrecking. 5 car, it looks like, got into something. I don't see...
I'm not sure if it was just him or who it was back there. We're going to go back and try to find out. It can't be debris, I don't think.
There's a lot of cars crunched up. It's going to be kind of tough to tell who's involved in what right now, but we'll go back and take a look like we always do.
Yeah, I believe that.
Is that right there?
Let's see that one more time here, because looks like Derek Da Silva got into James Shanewolf there, and James Shanewolf gets sideways just enough to bring out the caution.
Another 3 wide on the back stretch scenario that, these turns look wide, but let me tell you, trying to funnel into them, it isn't that way. That's just what happened. It looks like the 53 was trying to run a different line in the corner, and maybe he thought he would clear the 5 by the time they got there. Wasn't the case. Luckily, no big damage to any of these automobiles. Everybody's going to be able to continue from this one. But we are under another caution.
And now we find out exactly who is pitting and when, because we are 25 laps into this thing, and some of these guys might want to consider taking some tires.
And I don't know if we've really had a long green flag run enough to take tires, but I'd start thinking about fuel. When can I make it to the end? When can I make this a one-stop race? Start doing the math like that, and none of the leaders are thinking that right now. Everybody's staying out on the track. Some of the guys in the back can really come down because they don't have great track position. They might as well try to play some strategy. We're also listening to the driver chat, and a lot of upset folks right now. So this it's just a byproduct of short track racing sometimes. Racing is tight, and some feelings get hurt, but hopefully we can clean this up a little bit and get some green flag laps.
Well, nobody likes to run nothing but pace laps, obviously, and that's not something that we're looking for here at Speed Racing Network, and that's one of the reasons that we've cut down on the number of short tracks throughout the season, just because it is so difficult to have a clean race here on iRacing.
Yeah, so short tracks on iRacing are just notoriously a little bit tougher because it's harder to judge in a simulation the ends of your race car, and the racing is so close and tight and the tracks are so small that it's just subject to a lot of incidents. And so, like you said, the SRN's cut back a little bit on that, but we saw last night in the Truck Series it is possible. We can get some long green flag laps going, and hopefully we can get that right there. I'd like to see how that works out as far as strategy, but like we've said, all the leaders currently staying on the track. Nobody up front has come down to get some service yet.
Well, I know last night the admins, they deemed it necessary to have a single file restart on their 5th restart, which is what this would be right now. And that worked out really, really well for them, even though some of the drivers kind of complained about it at the time. But it looks like they may be doing that here as well.
Yeah, I think they are discussing it, Sean. I haven't heard official word yet if they're going to do that, but that did seem to help last night. And looks like that's what they're planning to do. They're going to single file this up. It's just going to help us get spread out a little bit quicker, which, kind of makes it to where these guys aren't breathing on top of each other entering the corners, reduces the likelihood we get a caution.
Yeah, sometimes all it takes is 4 or 5 good laps just away from everybody else for you to kind of get into your groove, and then everything else is okay after that. Just get those tires a little bit warm, just get yourself into a rhythm, that sort of thing. But you can't do that if you're wrecking within 3 laps of starting. So we're going to get it back started once again. Jordan Bain takes off just like he has all night long, and Vincent Cortez on his way in second.
Yeah, big jump right there. In single file, he's not going to have to worry about a car on his inside or outside, so he's just going to be able to go whenever he wants. The drivers behind him have to be a little bit careful, though. You can't pass below the guy in front of you before you get to that start-finish line. Looks everybody is able to do that. The 8 just took it off the outside wall there on the backstretch, but it doesn't look like anybody else is involved in that.
Yeah, 8's having some struggles out there tonight, but it looks like he got it back under control right next to Danny Dow there without a front.
Yeah, he's driving that car around here without a front bumper, which is possible here. The speeds aren't high enough to where that's a huge aerodynamic disadvantage, but I have to believe that's not a great engine situation. Vincent Cortez still being a little aggressive here up front, battling with Seth Reid for that second spot.
Yeah, Seth finally gets him on the outside, so Seth restarted 3rd on this restart. It looks like he may be able to get that second position away from Vincent here.
The outside lane is just preferred when you're trying to pass here. There's just more racetrack to work with. You're able to carry a lot more speed off the corner, and you'll see that 81 just pull on that 69 there in the stretch from that outside lane. And smart move by Seth Reid, clean pass, and he's going to set his sights on the leader.
So Jordan Bain 1st, Seth Reid 2nd, Vincent Cortez 3rd, Matthew Robinson 4th, and Kyle Benson from the Cup Series in 5th.
Outside looking in, Tristan Bailey in that 6th spot. He's been clean tonight. He's all it takes to get you up to 6th. So good run by him tonight. He's got a couple of guys battling around him, but just doing his best to stay out of trouble.
It looks like Kyle Benson's going to pop to the inside and see what he can get done there, but I don't think he's going to get enough speed down there.
You just see how hard it is to get leverage on the inside. So I do believe if you're going to work past anybody and work your way through this field, you're going to have to do it on the higher lane. The trick being, it's easy for a guy to block that maneuver, move up a little bit and block you from getting that leverage on the high side. So we'll have to see how that goes. Bo Tiffany racing really tight right there with it looks like the 52 car for that spot that's going to allow the 78 to get it on his inside.
Well, it looks like whatever the admins decided to do there with the single file, it is starting to work out just a little bit as we've gone longer on this green flag run than any other so far.
This track has a lot to do with rhythm as well. Once you get in a rhythm, it's easy to run consistently clean laps, and so I believe this is a good situation we have here where the guys are going to be able to settle in. We're still battling. We're not just pacing single file around here, but everybody's giving each other plenty of space and getting in a rhythm.
Good to see Rhett Tucker back down there on the track after being in the pits for so long. He is currently slotted in the 28th position, about 8 laps down. But again, if he just kind of hangs in there, there should be some other cars dropping out at some point.
Yeah, you see him off the pace, but man, that might be just what it takes just to gain a few more points tonight. Just it's not going to be fun getting passed by everybody or lapped about every 10 to 12 laps, but you know what? That might be the difference between you competing for that championship and not. So he's going to do everything he can to stay out as long as he can and get as many positions. And Bo Tiffany still pushing his way towards the front. He's having a good night for on the outside lane.
Yeah, but Jordan Bain has absolutely controlled this race. Not as much as Adrian Schumacher did that race at Indianapolis last week, but he has controlled this race so far, leading every single lap.
Yes, you see a lot of the guys as we were on that shot that panned down the backstretch, taking it off the fence right there. That wall comes up in a hurry. So does that one right there by the start-finish line. And this is that point in the run where we had enough green flag laps that this car starts to tighten up, starts to push off the corner, and if you just overstep the boundary a little bit, you can get that fence pretty good. But Jordan Bain doing a good job of just keeping it clean, giving himself plenty of room to work out toward the wall and not pushing the issue.
Now they are coming up on some lap traffic here fairly shortly, so it could just be another couple of laps before they catch up to this lap traffic. I'm trying to see exactly who that is. I believe one of those is Mike Lepicki. I'll have to double check that.
Lap traffic here could be really tricky because you really don't know what lane they're going to run in, because some guys like running the bottom here in 1 and 2, some guys like running the top, and so you got to kind of communicate with those guys if they're on the race chat and say, hey, which lane are you going to be in? That way you can work by them without having a lot of issue. But that'll be something to watch as we continue.
As we are quickly approaching lap number 40, and I'm not sure what the fuel run is here, but if I remember correctly last night, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 laps.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit more with these Xfinity cars, probably closer to 50 laps. And so, I think regular, if this thing were just to be a caution-free race, you could cut it into thirds, but I assume these guys will be able to go to about 60, maybe 65 before having to come down. However, if you want tires a little bit sooner, you might undercut that and come a little early.
Yeah, and that is Mike Lepicki that they were coming up on. Without a hood, without a bumper, without a tail end, Mike Lepicki is just rolling around in nothing but tinfoil.
Racing for pride right now, Sean. He's just giving the sponsors some airtime, and sometimes that's all you can do.
I mean, unless you can't see the sponsors.
That might be a problem with that race car. You might have a point there.
But Jordan Bain still leads this thing. And it looks like the top 5, now the top 6, have made it past Mike Lepicki there as he goes another lap down. But going back a little further on the track here, let's head back to Greg Olenek back here in 12th as he is trying again to battle back into the top 5 playoff position. Currently slotted as the 6th playoff driver here tonight.
Yeah, Sean, and I think he got that damage that he had on that left rear corner fixed because it doesn't look as bad as it was. We got into Mike Lepicki right there. Big right side damage on that 31 car. I guess he just didn't expect him to be there. They kind of doored, and that's going to cost him a few spots.
Yeah, but he got it back under control, so good on him for doing that. But it looks like Dylan Patterson had the same issue there.
Man, these lap cars can be dangerous, especially if you're catching as fast as you're catching that 46 car. And great save by Olenek, the second great save we've seen him make tonight. I bet it's a little bit more stress than he wanted to have so far in this race.
Oh, believe me, Mike Lepicki didn't want to be in that position either, so it's not like he did anything on purpose.
No, and sometimes you just can't help but try to do your best to get out of the way. And, it's the liberty of the guys around you, the faster cars to work around you and just hold your line. And so, as we would say around here, just another one of them racing incidents, 2 cars in the same area of the racetrack.
Just a couple spots back from him, James Shadewolf catching up to Greg Olenek very quickly, and James, again, was in the 10th spot coming into this race, and so he was 15 points below the cut line, so definitely needs a great race here tonight to set himself up for next week.
That and his team is running very well tonight. You have Robinson up there in 4th and Markle there in 8th. I think they're all teammates, and so that's going to be a good night if they can finish where they're all running right now for JW and their team points battle. But he made a good save earlier on that car when he got caught up in a little incident. So far, so good for Shane Wolf. He's going to just try to continue and click off as many points as he can.
Yeah, JW Racing has all 5 of their drivers in the top 15 right now. So really good points night. Now, keep in mind that they were that way last week at Indianapolis, too, before having a really, really bad finish to that race.
Yeah, strategy really bit them at Indianapolis, and they might learn from that and play it a little different tonight. But nevertheless, they're giving themselves a better chance to make something happen tonight. But this is that point in the run where we start to see guys that maybe took a little better care of their tires start to go to the front, and some of the other guys start to fall back. We've kind of reached that point in the run, and so you're going to see a few comers and goers here.
Going back up front, Jordan Bain and Seth Reid still kind of having a little bit of a battle here as they reach Stan Hausman.
Jordan Bain's got some right side damage on that car now, Sean. That right rear quarter panel around the tire has has been beat in a little bit, so that might slightly be affecting his performance, but maybe that car's starting to lose handle a little bit as well.
Yeah, even the leaders are not prone to a little bit of damage here on Phoenix, which I consider to be a short track. A lot of people don't consider this to be a short track. I 100% do. I feel like a mile or less, that's a short track.
Yes, and with this new configuration, it just races a lot like a short track, so I do agree with you. But, man, we got lap cars all over the place right here, and this is not what Jordan Bain wants to see. And he's going to start reaching faster and faster lap cars as well, which is going to make it tougher and tougher to get around. But they're able to navigate him so far. Yeah, Daniel Keith Jr. just buried that thing into the wall to stay away from those leaders. So good job by him sacrificing his car so that the leaders can get by safely. It's, you earn a lot of respect sometimes as a lap car, just knowing where you are and able to get out of the way to the best of your ability. Showing respect for your competitors and respect for those guys racing the lead. So kudos to him, and we got a pretty good battle shaping up for the lead right here. Seth Reid is not leaving Jordan Bain alone. No, and they are coming closer and closer to needing to pit. Here we are on lap 49, and you were saying about lap 50, maybe 55, that they would have to pit. So we're coming up on that quickly. Now, I will say that the very first car that has already pitted, that is out there on the track, is Drew Ballesteros back there in 7th place, pitted on lap 24. So he would, in theory, become the leader. Yes, and depending how this shapes out, if we get another caution or stay green, that difference in strategy can be huge. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, see how that plays off. But more importantly, he also has a clean race car right now, which is helping him out. But I think Seth Reid has saved a little bit more tire than this 28, and that's just why he's breathing down his back bumper lap in and lap out. Not sure if he wants to contest for the lead too hard right now. We still have 100 laps left, but he's definitely not going to let him get away. Yeah, I think the Seth is playing this really smart right now. Just bide your time. You've got plenty of laps to go. You got 100 laps to figure this thing out, and at this point in a tire run, there's no point in trying to go side by side with this guy. If we were at the end of the race right here, Sean, if this was the final lap, Seth Reid might just say, you know what, 2nd place, I'll take it. That's perfect. That'll get me a shot at the championship instead of trying to do too much and maybe go for a win he doesn't really need and cost himself maybe competing for that championship. So those are the inner battles we fight as drivers week in and week out and within the race. And so those are kind of things we have to keep an eye on. But yeah, everybody's giving each other space right now. Everybody's being respectful, and depending on how they stay when you're under caution, we'll have to see these leaders come down probably in about 10 to 15 laps or so for service. Yeah, all 3 of these top 3 drivers are all in the top 5 currently. So if they finish 1, 2, 3 like this, then they really solidify their chances to make it into the finals. Man, there's nothing better than a blanket of security with points. And Jordan Bain runs right up on the lap car of Lipicki, and big damage to the front of that 28 car. That's going to allow Seth Reid to just breeze right by him. Yeah, Seth Reid takes big advantage of that. And here comes Vincent Cortez trying to take advantage of it as well. But Seth Reid, your new leader here at Phoenix. Clean car is going to be out front. He might pull away here depending on how much pace is lost in that 28 car from getting in the back of the 46. We'll have to see. And if we do have green flag pit stops, these guys are going to have to be strategic whether they take any extra seconds to fix any damage they have on those automobiles. If I was the 81, I'm not worried because my race car is clean. But if I was the 28, I might consider getting that front end damage fixed depending on how this affects his performance down the course of this run. He seems to be losing just a little bit of pace as Vincent Cortez looks to get by him here. Yeah, Aaron Gerwitz, one of our playoff drivers, goes a lap down now as Brendan Domain is the next car on the lead lap. Going a lap down before a green flag pit cycle was huge because if you still do have to pit, now you're probably going to be 2 or 3 down, and without a few cautions, that's almost going to be insurmountable for those guys. Seth Reid now, though, with a good amount of clean racetrack in front of him, not another lap car for a little bit here, so he's going to be clean sailing, nobody out of his windshield. He can focus on what he wants to do as far as strategy now. Yeah, they've got to be considering, especially Seth, with being so far out in front here, this would be the perfect time to pit because you've already got your point for leading a lap, and now you can get it into the pits really cleanly as opposed to these guys back in the pack trying to figure out a way to get to the bottom. And a lot of time is made and lost by your pit road entrance and exit. So whenever you can do that with a little bit of extra racetrack space around you, that's big. So good point there, Sean. This might be a good time, but this also might be a good time to maybe realize, man, I've stretched this out to a second lead. I might not need all this. Back off and save a little bit more while you're up front.
Oh, my strategy's on point. My driving skills are awful, but my strategy, all there, all day.
Sean is the crew chief of the year, I guess you could say. He's really good at calling strategy, but behind the wheel, not so much. But I have heard you beat Jason Tripp in a few races, so you might be an okay wheelman.
I've beat him in 2 races this season, and I will not stop saying that until he ends up beating me more than 2 races.
Well, there you go. Now everybody knows. SRN audience, you've heard it. Sean has beat Tripp twice, and Sean can call himself a wheelman officially.
If me being a wheelman is compared to Jason Tripp driving, then wow.
Might have to come to new standards. That's okay. We love it. We love the interior battle within SRN and the fierce competitors we all are. We love it.
Oh yeah, all good friends, but all friendly competition, and you got to have that friendly competition out there, that friendly banter back and forth, and the friendly banter is even more fun when he is not here to defend himself.
Absolutely, but he's going to go back and maybe listen to this, and then we'll probably hear about it later. But that's okay. Tripp's a good guy. We love him.
And here comes Seth Reid into the pits, and he's going to try to get that thing woed up. This is one of those really, really slow pit roads. I'm not sure you got it slowed down in time there.
45 miles an hour at a crawling pace, and I saw Jordan Bain come in behind him and slide those tires coming in, so he might have been coming in a little hot as well. It's really hard to see around that bend in pit road. We'll have to see if there's any post-pit road penalties here. We'll have to keep up with that.
Yeah, Vincent Cortez assumes the lead, and then he comes down into the pits along with, it looks like, Matthew Robinson as well.
You see the 88 go by there. All these playoff drivers, if they have the chance, are going to stay out an extra lap and get that much-needed bonus point and then probably come for their service. That's what Cortez did right there. That's what the 88 of Tristan Bailey's doing right here.
Yeah, like we said, Tristan Bailey, kind of a boomer bust driver, and right now doing a great job out there on the track, leading this race. Now, he is not pitted yet at all, so he is definitely going to be coming in here in the next lap or 2.
He's just going to lead a couple laps here and try to make some pace. Maybe trying to stay out, see if he can catch a caution here, because when you do have green flag pit cycles, you have a good mix of faster and slower cars on the racetrack, and sometimes incidents can occur because of that. So he might be playing that strategy, which I usually like to play week in and week out, so I commend him for that.
Tristan is nothing but blue skies in front of him, and I think he's trying to use that to his advantage here as he decides, do I come in right now or do I keep this clean track in front of me? And he's going to keep it in front of him for the time being.
I don't think this is a bad move right here, because you're able to make a little bit better pace with nobody around you, so even staying out on those old tires, you're not going to lose as much time as you would kind of still around another group of cars. So I like this move right here, staying out maybe just a couple extra laps to still run a good pace, but see if you can get a little bit of help as far as the cautions.
Definitely run it until it's dry, because second place through ninth place has already pitted back on laps 18 and 24. So definitely run this thing until it is dry, just in case there is a caution, and then you are sitting pretty.
Tonight we saw that caution come out at the very limit of everybody's green flag pit run. My teammate Landon stayed out the longest. He was sputtering coming down pit road to get that car there. So you can run these things dry and they will be okay, but you have to be careful. Caution comes out, you got to make sure you have enough fuel to get all the way back around to the pit box. But I like the strategy move right here. We'll see how it pans out in the long run.
So for all those people out there that run leagues or run races, if you choose to come to Phoenix, we have figured out the secret, and that secret is simple: single file restarts.
I guess so. I think it's just as much of a mental game as it is actual racing on the track, because physically they're not that much further apart, but I guess it just makes everybody settle down a little bit better. I'm all for it. Love watching this racing.
Well, Tristan Bailey's still staying out there, so he's got a 1.8 second lead on second place Drew Ballesteros, as Michael Lark comes into pits from the third position, so he will kind of fall down the leaderboard there, but Tristan Bailey stretching this thing to its absolute limit.
You see a lot of our outside looking in guys still out there in the top 10 that haven't come for service necessarily yet, and so that's big because they're looking for that much needed bonus point. But as long as the 88 stays out here, they're not going to get it because he's just going to keep that lead. So we'll have to see if he pits and lets anybody else get a bonus point.
Yeah, Bo Tiffany and Greg Olenek in 3rd and 4th. They both pitted on lap 18. So they can still go another 18 laps past wherever Tristan Bailey goes on this thing. And so they are going to use that to their advantage because just in case Drew Ballesteros decides to pit, and here comes Tristan Bailey right now, but just in case Drew Ballesteros decides to pit a little bit early, he pitted on lap 24, maybe they can sneak off a little bonus point there.
Absolutely. And, I do like that strategy that Greg and Bo Tiffany have right here because they were in the back. They weren't going to give up that much track position. They went ahead and got some fuel. That way they could stay out a little bit longer like this, like Drew Ballesteros is doing right here. I just like that strategy because it gives you more flexibility as we get towards the end of this race. So, man, it feels like every week we have some kind of mix of storylines with strategy, and here we are again.
And it's interesting to note that Bo Tiffany and Greg Olenek, who are racing for 2nd and 3rd here, just one behind the other here, remember, they were tied on the cut line coming into this race. So it's just they're always around each other. They're so similar as far as driving is concerned.
And it's funny how that works sometimes. You really get to know the drivers you race around all the time because you just find yourselves in pockets with them. And Bo Tiffany and Greg Olenek, that's just two you'll find racing with each other all the time. A lot of respect between them. We never see them get in any big incidents together. And they're playing the same strategy together. So maybe helping each other out here and working together to try to get as many points as they can tonight.
Yeah, you can see the 10 of Kyle Benson. He's just trying to get his lap back. He just pitted, so he's got those super fresh tires, and you can see how quickly he worked around Bo Tiffany there.
It's just how much difference are in those fresh tires, and that's why you might stay out a little bit longer because then when you do come off pit road, you can be on offense because you're going to have a little bit fresher than anybody else around you. As we get towards the end of the race, if you can pit last and have the freshest at the end, that might be the best case scenario for you. So that's just an easy way to see the difference when you see a guy on fresh tires blown by a guy on old tires.
Well, heading back up front, Drew Ballesteros leads this thing by about 5 seconds right now. And again, he pitted 6 laps later than Bo Tiffany and Greg Olenek, so he doesn't have to pit anytime soon here. And so he can just grow this league more and more and more because he's got fresher tires than those two.
Stayed out and worked his way up as last week's winner, Adrian Schumacher, back there in 6th. He's in a gaggle of cars back there right now. This is a mix of cars that's playing different strategies, so some are faster, some are slower, and they're just trying to navigate around each other. But he had some damage, and so he might not have the raw speed. He's going to try to do something a little bit different on strategy here to keep his points advantage up and keep himself in the cut, but I think if he just comes home with a solid run tonight, he'll be just fine.
Yeah, and we're going to have to do the math in a little while and figure out how many stops do these guys need to make because I'm thinking that Drew Ballesteros, if he can survive this thing for another 20 laps, then he may be able to make it the rest of the way on one stop, which would give him just a massive advantage.
Get that calculator out, Sean. We're probably going to need it. But I agree with you. I think if he has that much fuel left in that thing from this point, that he could make it to the end. The other thing you need to think about if this stays green is you got to make mistake-free pit stops. You don't want to have a speeding penalty or an unsafe pit entrance or exit penalty that costs you what was a perfect strategy. So, there's just as much art in the actual strategy itself as to, in that pressure-packed situation, get on and off pit road cleanly.
Oh, and it's so easy to mess up, especially here where that pit lane time is so slow at 45 miles an hour. You're not geared to go down that to that speed.
No, and it's tough to get down because the track is so flat. You really got to make sure you have a handle on that race car because there's not any load on the car. And so you got to be real careful, especially if you're on old tires that gets really slick. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as these leaders funnel through and if they can make that money stop, as we call it, cleanly. Greg Olenek under a little bit of fire here from some guys with fresher tires, but looks like he's just sticking true to that strategy.
Definitely, and he was able to pull away from Bo Tiffany as Bo Tiffany dives into the pits. And remember, he and Greg pitted on the same lap on lap 18, but Greg's going to stay out there a little bit longer and possibly pit with Drew Ballesteros if he can.
And I think staying out longer is going to be the only way this works out for somebody like Greg Olenek because stopping here, you can't make it to the end, I don't think. You know, I don't have a calculator in front of me, but from what I have experienced here at Phoenix, I don't think you can make it. So staying out as long as you can is going to be Greg's best friend here. And if he can match that 54, I think that's going to be the best strategy.
Yeah, James Shamewolf coming down into the pits as Drew Ballesteros still leads this thing by 7 seconds now. And so just pulling away quickly, but now he's got all sorts of cars around him that he's going to have to navigate through.
And this is the point in the race where us as drivers, we have to reach that next gear of mental toughness. And I tell you that because it's easy to just get lost in a rhythm here. But you have slow cars, as we see Greg coming down right here. But back to what I was saying, you have slow cars all around you, guys on different tires, different strategies. You can't lose focus and cost yourself by making a mistake and just not paying attention, frankly. So this is when you have to dial in, reach that next gear mentally, and stay engaged and keep that car clean and make sure you stay true to your strategy.
Keep in mind, Drew Ballesteros has a win this season. And so he definitely knows how to park it in victory lane. And one of the fun things about this brand new track here at Phoenix is that you actually can park your car in victory lane.
That is true, and that makes for some great pictures, especially if you can get your team in there and do it all together. But Drew, not a playoff driver. He's just shooting to win this thing tonight, and so this is what he's choosing to do. That 54 looks fast right now. We'll see how long it is before he has to come down and get some service.
Corey Saucier pitting from the second position. Tyler Markle, one of our playoff drivers, will move up to up to second. I apologize, up to second. Keep in mind that he started off in the 26th position, and he's up here in second place now.
And Sean, because he started back there, we talked about before the race, not the best qualifier, but he works his way up. And that's just what we're seeing right here. Better than where he started. That's just his MO. So, good strategy by him so far tonight. We see Drew coming down pit road here to get it service.
And that will give Tyler Markle the lead and get him that all-important bonus point as well. And so, great job by Tyler Markle, and he is going to need those bonus points as he is currently sitting in 11th position in the standings.
And we haven't talked about him much tonight, but probably because there's not a scratch on that thing. That thing's clean. He hasn't been involved in any incidents, and he's just quietly playing a little bit of strategy here. So, good points night thus far. I don't think you can make it to the end pitting right here, right now. So the 42 might be in the best position here if he can make it about another 10 to 15 laps before having to come down.
Yeah, I just where all these guys are pitting right now, it just doesn't feel like they can make it 60 laps under green. So yeah, he is definitely going to have to push this another 20 laps or so. I just don't think he's got it in the tank to do that.
Agree, and if you're going to try to make it, you're going to have to get really creative. Kind of like what we saw Jordan Bain do a couple weeks ago at Auto Club, was clutching in the corners, just trying to save as much fuel as possible, and you just might have to get that creative. So, I don't know, we'll see how this works out, but the 42 right now might be in the best position.
Yeah, now right behind him, actually 6 seconds behind, Vincent Cortez actually passed Jordan Bain. And so Vincent Cortez is your leader once Tyler Markle pits, even with that little bit of damage.
Yeah, now Jordan has some damage too from when we saw him get in the back of the 46. So I guess the damage on the 69 isn't as bad as the damage on the 28. And he was able to get by him. But that could be important because that could turn out to be the eventual battle for the lead if something happens to this 42 car. So good note there. And looks like the 42 is going to bring it on down here.
I will point out that Seth Reid, who was up front there for a while, he is back here in the 19th position, a lap down. I'm not sure if it was because he fixed damage or because he got a penalty, but he was in that pit stall for a minute back on lap 59.
Have to be some kind of damage or an incurred penalty. I'm curious to see what happened. We did see him get on pit road really, really hot there. So it could have been a speeding penalty, but he has a lot of front end damage too. So I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Because I believe that car was clean when he came down for his service. So, interesting note.
Vincent Cortez taking the lead here. And now we got to see if he can just finish the job, because he's been so close so many times this season that he would just love to park this thing in victory lane just once.
And this is, when you're the leader, this comes down to gap management right here. You got to know what your lead is, and right now it's just under 2 seconds in front of the 28 or the 51. They keep swapping positions back there. And so you have to manage that gap. You know, if you can save a little bit, because you don't need all 2 seconds of that gap, do that. But don't let them get all the way to you and be able to jack you up to get by. So you just have to manage here. I wouldn't push the issue and run completely away with this thing when you can sit back and maybe save it.
Keep in mind that most of these cars pitted around laps 59 to 61. And so because of that, we can kind of decipher that it's about 40 laps is what they were looking at, because most of those drivers pitted around lap 18-ish. And so if you're looking at about 40 to 45 laps, something to that effect, then they have to make it to lap 105 to reasonably have a chance. Well, that's a 45 lap stint to begin with. And so if they're going to stretch it, now's the time to start stretching that fuel.
Yeah, it's a lot shorter than I would have thought it would have been, but a lot of on-throttle time at this track, and that's a reason we see it, even though it's a mile, so many laps, so fewer laps, I should say, on a tank of fuel than some of our other mile tracks. But yeah, I mean, it's always a good idea to save, no matter where you're at or where you're running. So we'll have to see what Cortez does here. He might have to think about backing off of that throttle a little bit to save a little bit of gas if he wants to be able to make it all the way to that all-important 105 lap.
Yeah, we will see all those strategies play out as we get a little bit deeper into this thing. But right now, if you try to figure out what everybody is doing without actually talking to them, it's just going to make your head hurt.
That's fun, Sean. You want to be in the mind of the race car driver, because you never know what they're thinking or what they're doing. You can't read it on the race car. You just got to sit back and watch, and definitely making it entertaining tonight.
Vincent Cortez with about a 2-second lead over Matthew Robinson, who's got about a half-second lead on Jordan Bain in third place, and then it just gets spaced out even more from there, and it's all because of all different pit strategies. So this is one of those races where if you were live here, if you were here at Phoenix and you were watching this race, you wouldn't have a clue who was leading this thing.
No, but man, those are some of the most entertaining races to watch, because there's a battle going on between some drivers everywhere. You're just trying to keep track of strategy, and this is what race fans love to see. And I know I'm a strategy guy myself. It's what I prefer. I prefer strategy racing. So exciting for me to watch, exciting for all our viewers out here to watch, and I'm sure they're trying to keep track just as much as we are and having just as much hard of a time as it.
Well, I mean, the good news about watching a race either on your PC or on YouTube or on TV, whatever it is, you've got the scoring tower sitting right there showing all of those gaps back and all that stuff. But when you're live at a race, you just don't see that. You might see a scoring tower with which numbers are in first, second, third, and on down the list. But then you have to figure out which of those cars out there are those numbers.
Yes, and it sounds confusing, but today's day and age, we have so much technology and the NASCAR app on our phones that we can somewhat keep track of that at the racetrack. But, I want to take a second to all our viewers out there. If you have not been to a NASCAR race in person, you definitely need to go. It's an experience worth trying out. There's nothing like it, and once you do it, I guarantee you're going to want to go back.
Oh, yeah. When we went to Nashville, and a bunch of us from Speed Racing Network all got together and went to the Nashville race this season. It was my first NASCAR race ever, and when I went there, I was surprised at how loud those engines were, but it was loud to the point of it just got you fired up.
Yes, and then on TV, you can only see a certain amount of track at a time, but when you're there, you can see the whole thing. You can watch battles go around the track that aren't necessarily shown on TV, which can be extremely entertaining. So for those that haven't gone, go book a ticket to go to a race in 2022, and if you are in the area of any of our SRN drivers, they will be more than happy to tag along with you and experience the race together.
Yeah, we have a lot of drivers that go to as many races as possible, rooting on their favorite drivers to the point of chugging beers at the end when they win the race.
Oh, yeah, we have seen that around here a time or two. Definitely have a lot of passionate fans and passionate drivers in this league, and that's what makes this so fun.
We got a great battle here between Jordan Bain and Matthew Robinson for that second position. They've been trading back and forth here for about the past 10 to 15 laps, and so they still have not gotten this thing completely sorted out. Jordan Bain had that little bit of damage a little bit earlier, but looks like he's running just fine right now.
That Jordan Bain machine is missing the SRN playoff banner. He is a playoff driver, even though you might not be able to tell that from the race car. You can see that on the scoring pylon. His name is in green. That means he's currently in the cut. Solid run here. Second place is good enough to keep him in the cut, and probably move him, give him a good enough buffer above the cut to be in good shape for next week. But he doesn't want to tangle with this 51 if he doesn't have to, so he's going to try to get away.
Well, then you have Tristan Bailey, who pitted 7 laps after these two that are in front of him. And keep in mind that he is on the outside looking in on the playoffs right now. He is currently slotted 3 points below the cut line. So if he finishes this race where he's at right now, he should be just above that cut line.
Said he pitted 7 laps after. That's interesting to note, because right now on track, he's running laps that are about 3 to 4 tenths faster than the guys in front of him. So that's what those 7 laps of tires is worth, and that's why it's worthwhile maybe staying out longer if you can, because now he is a lot faster than everybody in front of him, and it's just a matter of time before he catches him and passes him. Yeah,
you can see the difference here. This is between the leader, who's Cortez, and Tristan Bailey, and he is catching up to Cortez by about 1/10 to 2/10 per lap.
Absolutely, and that's big. That adds up, especially at a track like this where there are so many laps, and he's 4 tenths faster than that 51 car, and that's why you just see him catching him on screen so quickly. Catching him is one thing, getting him around him is another, so if Tristan can get around him efficiently, he'll continue his march forward.
Yeah, especially as these tires start to level off even more. It's just so hard to pick a lane to go by. You almost have to just sit there behind the guy and make him make a mistake.
Sometimes intimidation is the best way to pass somebody, Sean. Dale Earnhardt made it work for so many years. And he's just going to get to him, show him his front bumper, and say, "I'm here." And the 51, I don't think is going to pressure him too hard. He knows the bigger picture here, and the 88 is just going to blow right by him here. That tire difference is way too much.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at that, and I'll tell you why. Because 51 is not in the playoffs. And so the only thing he has to race for is this race. And so a little surprised that he just kind of let Tristan Bailey go by as quickly as he did. Good job that he did that, because it keeps the race clean, but just a little bit surprising move.
He might be trying to save a little bit. Maybe if he's weary about making it to where this is a one-stop race, he might be trying to back off that car as much as possible. Jordan Bain might be trying to do the same, because their lap times the last couple laps have dropped off severely. So they might have done the math in their head and know they just need to back off a little bit extra right here.
Well, while that's going on, back up front, Vincent Cortez has opened up that lead to 3 seconds now. And so he is starting to put a little bit of distance between him, as well as a few lap cars between him and second place Jordan Bain.
That's big whenever you can have some roadblocks, you could say. Not necessarily saying the lap cars are really slow, but that's what it can be sometimes. Extra cars is never a bad thing to have between you and the next guy. Cortez will just have to make sure he makes a clean pit stop like we talked about. I believe this is his race to lose at this point. He's just got to execute to the best of his ability and keep that race car clean from this point. And I don't think he can be beat unless the old yellow flag comes out, but I hope that doesn't happen.
No, I hope not too. Now, Vincent Cortez pitted on lap 60, so he's about 44 laps into it right now. If he can make it basically one more lap, he can come into the pits and know that he can make it the rest of the way on that fuel. So, but he might want to stay out just a little bit longer and get a little bit more play out of these tires, so that way when he gets those fresh tires, he can gain even more on some people.
I agree with that strategy, and his car has really good pace right now for him being 45 laps into this run. I mean, he's running 29.19s, which is still pretty competitive. That's even a little bit faster than Bailey, who's on the 7-lap fresher tires. So, he's able to keep pace on a little older tires right now, and Jordan Bain's going to come down pit road from the second spot.
Yeah, and he knows that he can make it the rest of the way now. So why not? Why not go ahead and get in there, get those fresh tires, and see if you can't make at least a little bit of a run here on Vincent Cortez. But Cortez just putting even more distance on everyone.
Yeah, and at this point in the race, if I was anybody in that top 10 there on the scoring pylon, I would just stay out as long as I could, see if I couldn't get lucky and catch a caution and be on that lead lap when I have to pit and maybe jump some of these other guys and trap them a lap down. That'd be the only way I think I'd have a shot at winning this thing. Some of the playoff drivers, though, they might cut it a little bit more conservative and go ahead and get their service, knowing that they have to get as many points as possible. But if I was going to win this thing, I might go all out and just stay out till that thing runs out of gas and then come get my service.
Yeah, we'll see who's the next up to drop into pit road. But yeah, at this point, if you pit right now and get full fuel and tires, you can make it the rest of the way, definitely for sure. So now it's just a matter of when do people pit, when do people try to make that undercut, and how long does Vincent Cortez stay out there. But, I mean, he's gaining on second play. Like, he's putting more distance between himself and Tristan Bailey right now. So I think as long as you're putting more distance on the guy in second place, I think you stay out there as long as you possibly can.
No, that's absolutely correct. And just like I said, he's still got a lot of pace in that car, which is really impressive. So kudos to him to maybe saving a little bit in the middle of that run when he wasn't battling anybody and just kind of settled in. And now he's got a little bit more at the end of this run, and he's able to put the gap on now when the other guys are starting to struggle with their stuff. So this is what winning drivers do. This is how they operate and how they execute these races. And so I sure hope tonight is the night, especially because I picked him. But that 69 car still looks good up front, and we'll see when he comes down.
Oh, yeah, we are breaking the broadcaster's curse here tonight with Vincent Cortez, who I think we've picked for like the last 6 weeks running and has not come through just yet. But right now, he is looking like a pretty good bet out there. But don't look past Tristan Bailey. He is 4 seconds behind right now, but he still has a car that looks relatively clean, and he's got some good pace to it, and he's coming off a victory like a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
If I was Tristan Bailey tonight and I came home second behind Vincent Cortez, I would almost call that a win because he was on the outside looking in, and that's a lot of points on some of those guys he was battling.
Oh, definitely. And if he can just maintain that second place, I mean, definitely I don't think it's going to hurt his feelings at all. He would love to have that first place, but that second place, I mean, good is good enough, man.
Sometimes, Sean, Vincent Cortez is going to dive down right here, but what I was going to say right there is sometimes you have to think about it. Do I want a shot at $500 or I just want to come home with $30 tonight? And that might be the decision Tristan Bailey has to make here, and he'll be happy with second. Drew Ballesteros, who we saw stay out a little longer earlier, is now going to assume the top spot again.
Yeah, man, he last pitted on lap 80, so in theory he can make it to about 125 to 130 here, though I'm not sure why you would want to do that, but we'll have to see exactly what he plans to do, and maybe he just stays out and hopes there's a caution to give himself that track position.
I do think that's his only hope here, unless he knows something that we don't. But this is what we saw happen to JW last week at Indianapolis, was some bad strategy just cost them a little bit too much, and they didn't finish as good as they ran. So I sure hope that's not the case tonight, but he's probably going to need some kind of event other than him just running laps around this track to have a shot at it. But we'll wait and see. See Cortez coming off pit road. He's going to slot in right in front of him right there. That means Cortez is going to stay on the lead lap. So even after his service, he's not a lap yet.
Which is amazing. I mean, it's so tough to do here in Phoenix, especially because that pit road speed is so slow at 45 miles an hour.
And the big thing for Cortez is he's done his service. He can make it to the end. Guess what? No mistakes on that pit stop. Don't see a black flag for him. So that means he made a mistake-free money stop. And the race is in his hands right now, as long as nothing drastic happens. But sitting 11th after your service is still in a pretty darn good spot.
Drew Ballesteros still leads this thing by about 6 seconds. Now we got Nathan De La Rosa coming in from the 6th position to get his service. And it's just a matter of time before second place Kyle Benson comes in as well. He last pitted on lap 61.
Yes, so it's just going to start to cycle around here, and we're going to see Cortez start to get back towards that top spot as long as guys keep coming. Here comes Kyle Benson bringing that 10 car down, and we'll see others behind him follow suit, getting in there a little hot, able to get it woed down and keep it straight.
Yeah, it looks like Danny Dow coming into pit road as well. Zach Deutscher also pitted on lap 61, and he has not come in yet, so he is going to run that thing dry as best as he possibly can, but currently slotted in the 5th position and sticking it out there.
Yeah, and I'm just concerned that some of these guys that aren't up front are just giving up too much time staying out right here, but we're going to see a couple cars coming here. We got the 2 of Zach and then Corey right behind him in the 19, both coming to get their service. Whoa! Different ideas on how to slow down right there on pit road, almost a collision.
And sometimes that happens. Pit road is one of the hardest places on the entire track. Even on fresh tires, it can be difficult.
That's right, and Drew Ballesteros is going to bring his car down, which is going to cycle the rig to Greg Olenek. So he's going to get his shot at a bonus point here, which he desperately needs.
Yeah, and Greg, I mean, he is the hardest on himself. He's harder on himself than anybody else, where he could have a really great race and come in 6th or 7th and really do well there, and he is just completely disappointed in that. He is one of those drivers that feels like he should be winning every single race, and just sometimes those breaks just don't happen for him.
I love that. That's just a fierce competitor in him, and we all are the same way, us drivers that are passionate. We're always disappointed if we don't come home with that victory, but his Moo and Brew Sparkle and Shine Ford is always one of my favorites on track, and it's good to see it up front.
Yeah, we always enjoy having him in the booth as well, so I can't talk too much bad about him because, you know, he won't come in and join us in the booth anymore if I do. So I mean, really, you gotta butter him up a little bit. So Greg, getting that Moo and Brew car into the pits, getting it all woed up, coming down for his last service of the race.
Did a good job getting on pit road right there. Was aggressive, but not too aggressive, and was able to get slowed down in time. Bo Tiffany's going to stay out here and get himself a bonus point as well. Another driver that was on the outside looking in. They know the bonus points matter, and so they're going to stay out and get them one if they can, and that's what he's going to do right here.
So just to update everybody, Vincent Cortez is in 4th place right now. And the guy that was in 2nd place, Tristan Bailey, is currently 3.3 seconds behind Vincent. They both pitted on the same lap. So basically, Tristan's just going to have to be 3.5 seconds faster than Vincent Cortez on the same tires.
He just has that pace, but because we've been watching him, and over the course of the run, even on fresher tires, the 88 couldn't quite keep the gap closed on that 69. We saw him pull away at the end of that run. So we'll see, unless he found a little extra something. Cortez just have to make sure he stays out of trouble, the nose clean, gets around these lap cars cleanly, and he'll be okay. But we got Bo Tiffany bringing it down here, so he got his bonus points. Now he's going to come get some service. Adrian Schumacher is going to stay out. He's going to grab himself a bonus point, last week's winner. And that's going to slot Cortez back up to 2nd place. So after Adrian pits, this will cycle back around.
Feels like most of the 11 drivers got a bonus point tonight for leading a lap.
Yeah, that's a strategy you have to play because, you know, we keep saying it over and over again. Every point matters, and if you have the opportunity to snag a free one, you're going to do it. And that's what these playoff drivers have done tonight. Adrian not having the night that he would have hoped, I don't think, but still solid night. At least he was running in the top 15, and he'll cycle back through here, and Vincent Cortez will reassume the lead whenever that happens.
Yeah, looking through the list here, I think only 3 of the top 11 drivers, so 3 of the playoff 11, did not get a bonus point for leading a lap. So lots of different leaders, lots of different strategies, lots of different fun out here on the track.
Man, there's stuff to watch all over the place. This has been a fun one to watch, not just the battles we see on the screen, but some of the battles I can see on the side, watching the rest of the field go around the track. It's been super impressive, and ever since we took that single file restart, this has been incredible racing.
Oh yeah, single file restarts are the way to go here at Phoenix apparently, and we're going to put that thing in the rule book probably next season. We'll see.
And I would love nothing more than to return this track. It's a lot of fun. It puts on a good show, and it's challenging. And we love to see tracks and race on tracks that are challenging. It makes the drivers work and practice that much harder, and usually it leads to a better racing product. I think that's what we're seeing here tonight.
Tristan Bailey gets by Jordan Bain there for the 3rd position. Keep in mind that means he'll be in 2nd once Adrian Schumacher does pit here just in the next couple of laps. He's been out for 50 laps now, so he'll have to come in to get new fuel and tires here in about 4 or 5 laps at the most.
And that gap between Cortez and Bailey really hasn't changed much since they've come off pit road. So I just think that's going to be a tough one to close if Cortez is going to be able to get by everybody without holding them up too much, by lap traffic. So we'll keep an eye on that gap, but Adrian's going to just run this thing till he can't run anymore, and he'll bring that thing on down for service, and we'll probably have about 20 laps to the finish at that point.
Well, and Vincent Cortez is catching him very quickly, so you can see that time just going down, down, down over there on the left pylon there. So coming across the start-finish line, he was at 1.2 seconds, and you'll see how quickly he closes that gap, as now it's under 1 second.
That's what almost or about 30 laps of difference will do on your tires. You'll just catch them that quick. Adrian brings it down pit road there. So Cortez back to the lead. He's going to have about just under a 3-second advantage. Call that 2.5 seconds on the 88 car for sitting in second as we work with 22 laps to go.
Now, keep in mind, the last time we talked about it, Bailey was like 3.3 seconds behind, so he's cut off half a second here in the past 10 laps or so.
I think part of that was Vincent Cortez is starting to catch lap traffic that's a little bit faster. It's going to be competitive lap down cars, which means they're going to be harder to get around, and it's going to take more time. And that might hold them up a little bit, which is going to allow the 88 to catch them a little bit quicker. 20 cars what sits in front of that 69 right now. Looks like he's going to try to get around him pretty handily here on the dog leg, and then we have another slower car, and then a little bit of clean track. So Cortez is going to set sail right here and now try to pull away.
And he's doing a great job with it, just getting around. Nothing but blue skies in front of him. I said that a little bit earlier, but just really, really clear in front of him right now. So he shouldn't have any trouble while Tristan Bailey's trying to work through the pack a little bit.
Absolutely. If I'm Vincent Cortez, all I want to see is that green, clean racetrack right now, and that's what he sees in front of him. 13 behind him. He's on a little bit fresher tires, so he's a lap down. He's going to be coming back. You see that at the bottom of the screen. We only have 11 cars, now 12 with the 13 getting by him right there. Guys on the lead lap, which is, that's just how this thing is cycled around.
Yeah, and again, that's just short track racing when you get these long green flag stints, which, by the way, let's back up a little bit. Remember, there are 4 cautions in the first 25 laps of this thing, and then we've gone pretty much caution-free, actually absolutely caution-free since that moment. So basically, we have gone over 100 laps caution-free on a short track that's abnormal like Phoenix.
That is incredible, and that just shows the talent we have here in SRN and all these drivers' ability to get around the track. And it was just a matter of shaking off those nerves. Like I said, they do exist, and they can come and bite you. So we shook off those nerves. We got a single file restart in us, and since then we've had pretty darn good racing.
Yeah, and Tristan Bailey just keeps on working his way forward. So he has dropped it down to 2.3 seconds now. And remember, they pitted on the same lap, so I'm not sure if Vincent Cortez is just really taking it easy out there just so he doesn't burn up his stuff, but Tristan Bailey's coming if he's not careful.
I sure hope that's what's happening, because I would not want to see Vincent Cortez lose it like this. But Tristan Bailey, I think, got around some of those lap cars a little bit more efficiently than the 69, and so that's going to allow him to close the gap a little bit. We'll keep an eye on these lap times, though, and see. They're pretty comparable right now. They're pretty tight, but 18 laps is still a lot of time. And if the tires fall off differently for him, this could be a much different story here in a little bit.
Yeah, it is just getting closer and closer, as you can see by that time delta. That's kind of being hidden there, but yeah, you can see that it's just getting a little bit closer, but then it kind of spreads back out at the same. So, I don't know. It's going to be a really fun race here towards the end with these last 17 laps to go.
This is why we show up every week, Sean. This is what we love to see. This is what race fans want to see. It come down to the end and just good racing. And I feel like the last 4 or 5 weeks since I've joined the broadcast booth, we've just seen really good racing. So kudos to all the Xfinity drivers for showing up every week and trying to put on the best show they can and racing really hard. It's been extremely entertaining.
All right, everybody out there in the crowd, did you hear what Jonathan just did? I think he just took credit for there being good races the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Just saying, there's a correlation there. I showed up in the broadcast booth and we've had some of the best Xfinity races of the year.
Hey, whatever it takes, man, we'll take it.
Absolutely. It's fun being up here. It's fun watching from this perspective, and it's fun watching Vincent Cortez lead this race since we've been dogging on him to get one for so long. It's impressive to see him up there, but man, he's starting to sweat it now. Tristan Bailey has closed this thing about just about 2 seconds.
Well, keep in mind, I know somebody that's very, very close to this broadcasting booth right now that went for a couple seasons without a victory in Speed Racing Network and then popped off 2 in a row. Not sure who that could have possibly been, Jonathan.
I don't think I've ever heard of that guy, but I know his team has 5 wins now, so I guess we took the cap off of something.
So maybe Vincent Cortez can do the same thing here for not only himself, but also for the rest of his teammates here at Tank Racing.
And that's something we take pride in here at SRN, is our team racing format and how we do that. And, an individual driver's success can spark a huge difference in team momentum and just the ability of the team to put together solid finishes. We saw it with JBR, and this could be a break in the ice for Tank Racing. They're still in that hunt for that team championship, and if they can pop off a win here with Cortez, that might be all they need to be super competitive for the rest of the team playoff.
Well, Tristan Bailey is still working his way forward. He's dropped it to under 2 seconds now, and so he is basically on the same straightaway as Vincent Cortez now. So this race may not be over just yet.
Adrian's running him pretty hard right there. Adrian obviously on a little bit fresher tires, just trying to get around him, but obviously that's a lead lap car. He's not going to push the issue too much. Crazy to think that Adrian Schumacher is 14th place sitting there right behind second, but that's just how this race is cycled out. Still about 2 seconds, so that gap has kind of held steady the last few laps between first and second.
Well, but really, Adrian doing a great job there. He is the 7th playoff driver on the track right now, so really not going to fall too terribly far behind, I don't believe. So good job by him after a couple of really rough wrecks, and look at how beat up that car is, and he is still in this thing, still getting it done.
Yeah, if you would have told me that car would be running 14th after the first 15 laps of this race, I probably would have said you're crazy and left this booth, but hey, here we are. And he did himself a huge service by having such a dominating run last week that he built a pretty good buffer on that point cut line with all of the bonus points he was able to accumulate. So 14th isn't going to be detrimental to his playoff hopes.
And you can see he is just tracking Tristan Bailey hard here. Tristan pitted on lap 111. Adrian Schumacher pitted on lap 127. So Adrian definitely has the tires to get around him. It looks like he's finally going to get to the outside and possibly make a move off his turn.
Yes, and he's racing for the guys in front of him too. That 66 right there of Nathan, that's for position. And every position counts in the playoffs. Every position's a point. So he's going to do as much as he can these last 9 laps to try to get a couple more positions here, get a couple more points.
Well, Matthew Robinson just passed Jordan Bain for 3rd position on the track. So some close racing going on back here, even though the front looks like it may have already been decided.
And the Jordan Bain machine right here is just trying to do a little bit of risk assessment. Some of the other playoff drivers are in troubles tonight, so just bringing it home in the top 5 would be a pretty good night for him. So maybe just racing conservative here and just knowing what he's racing for and not trying to push the issue too hard at this point.
Yeah, Matthew's got a teammate right behind him, Drew Ballesteros, giving him a little bit of a push there. So all 3 of these drivers racing for position right now. That's how close this battle is for 3rd place.
That also means it's a good night thus far for JW Racing. You got 2 of their cars right here in 4th and 6th place. 4th, 5th, and 6th, actually, if we go up a little bit. So that's a good night for a team that's hunting that team championship.
Definitely. I mean, that is going to be just an obscene amount of points compared to R&D Motorsports, who's sitting currently in 11th, 12th, and 17th as their top 3 drivers.
That's big, because I remember that battle was our tightest coming into tonight. Just a couple points separated the 2 teams. So big momentum this week, carry them into next week. And man, these drivers take a lot of pride in that team championship, and they want to win it as a group. And so JW is doing their best to make that happen, 1 race at a time, and tonight's a good step in that direction. We look back up front, Cortez started to pull back away from the 88 a little bit here, just like we saw at the end of the previous run.
Now, if I know Vincent Cortez, he is hooping and hollering in that car right now. just being so excited. So let's see if he can finish this thing off as we get to 5 to go here at Phoenix.
It's going to be the longest 5 laps that Vincent Cortez has ever driven right here, I guarantee you. Man, when I was in the lead at Homestead at the end of that race, that green-white checker we have was the longest 2 laps of my life. So I know what he's feeling right here. He just wants to see this thing go green. Corey's the only immediate threat in front of him, but Corey's a very respectful driver. He's going to let him have it here when he catches him. And he's got to keep it out of trouble. It's really up to the 69 and the 88 now. They're the only cars really close to each other within contention. Big gap between second and third.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that Vincent Cortez really needs to force this issue here. He might just want to tuck in behind Corey and just kind of ride unless, Corey just kind of pulls off to the side and just lets him go by. So if Corey wanted to stay in that area, I really think that Vincent Cortez would have just stayed where he was.
Agreed. We talk about risk assessment, I should say, all the time, and that would be a good situation of it. Corey, really respectful driver. He knows what he's racing for. He knows what Vincent Cortez is racing for. He's just going to pull over and let him have it. You see in the mirror, though, Adrian Schumacher still eating up positions. Remember, we talked about him when he was 14th. He's up to 13th, and if he passes Corey there, that's up to 12th. So, saving night for Adrian Schumacher as Cortez comes to the line. 2 laps remaining in this one.
Oh, I got to tell you, this burnout is going to be a great burnout because it has just been such a long time coming. And so excited to see what he has planned for us here tonight as he is coming around. Lap and a half to go here.
I'm looking forward to this interview, Sean, when we get to it. He's going to make one more corner, and this race is going to be official with that white flag being presented. So he's holding his breath right now. He's going to exhale right here when he crosses the line. This race is official. 1 to go for Vincent Cortez, and this could be his breaking the ice moment for SRM.
Yeah, and all he has to do at this point is just keep it on the track as Tristan Bailey has fallen back to almost 3 seconds down. So just nice and easy, Vincent. Nice and easy.
This is going to be the corner right here. He's fist bumping already, I can tell, screaming inside that race car. Vincent Cortez, coming off a 3 and 4, is going to win his first SRM race tonight at Phoenix.
A long time coming and very, very well deserved, as he was a truck driver last season and then bumped up to the Xfinity series and has been doing great ever since, just has not been able to finish the job. And here tonight, he finally gets that monkey off his back.
I picked him tonight, Sean, so broadcaster's curse doesn't exist. The broadcasters pick 1. Great race by Cortez, great strategy play. This is going to be a burnout to watch for sure. This has been a long time coming.
Would that be another correlation?
Might be, Sean. We'll just call it that. You're a stats guy. I'm a stats guy. We'll just call it a correlation.
Oh, and he's not even waiting for the other cars to get off the track. He is just pumped up, ready to go. And so is Adrian Schumacher out there, his teammate, after kind of the race that Adrian had, bringing it home in 13th place. That should be a victory in itself.
Yeah, the way that car looks, 13th is much deserved. And, man, when everybody wins, it's anybody in this league wins, it's just a big celebration with your team, and that's just evident of it. Tank teammates doing burnouts right there. Cortez is going to take his time to burn this thing down.
Oh, and he deserves every single second of that. But while he's doing that, let's take a look and see our official standings here. So Vincent Cortez in first for Tank Racing. Tristan Bailey pulling off a great race here tonight that might sneak him back up into that top 5 for Murray Reed Motorsports. Drew Ballesteros and Matthew Robinson for JW Racing come in 3rd and 4th. And Jordan Bain follows up another good race with the top 5.
And that's going to be the rest of our playoff drivers in the top 10, and from here on out, it's non-playoff guys or guys on the outside looking in. Michael Lark's going to come home in 6th. Kyle Benson, our visitor tonight, in 7th. Greg Olenek battled back to an 8th place finish, and that's going to be a very helpful as he was on the cut line. Dean Brumman, another visitor tonight, in 8th and 9th. Tyler Markle will bring that thing home 10th.
That's right, 11th place is Bo Tiffany for R&D Motorsports. Corey Saucier in 12th for R&D. Adrian Schumacher for Tank Racing in 13th. Nathan De La Rosa for Jonathan Byer Racing in 14th. Zach Deutscher in 15th for Rev Reloaded. And there is Vincent Cortez. I'm gonna drop this down here really quick so you can see it. Vincent Cortez in the new victory lane here at Phoenix that you can actually drive up onto.
That's so cool. Pop the champagne. It's celebration time in Phoenix for Vincent Cortez and Tank Racing. A driver that definitely deserves it. He races hard and practices a bunch, and this is great to see. And, man, no better time to win your first race than in the playoffs.
Yeah, they got to fix the lighting down there. I got to say that is terrible lighting here in Phoenix. I mean, Phoenix is such a bright place. I know it's a night race, but it's such a bright place. But anyway, great job by Vincent Cortez there. And let's see if we can't go ahead and get some interviews going here as we will try to pull Drew Ballesteros into the booth and ask him about how his race went here tonight. Drew Ballesteros, welcome to the booth with Sean and Jonathan. Man, how was that race?
That was long. I didn't realize it's almost 11 o'clock at night, man. I got to go to sleep.
Well, hang out with us for just a couple minutes here really quick, and then, you can go off to bed. But tell us how that race went, because there was just so much action in the first 25 laps or so, and then it just kind of eased up after that.
Yeah, the first 25 laps, like you said, it just took forever. And I think on that next to last caution, when we had a couple of back-to-back, I decided to pit, go ahead and get 4 tires. I knew we were at our window, and I was surprised nobody else took them. So that put me on a different strategy in terms of fuel and tires, and I was surprised. There were a couple times that last pit stop I almost went down a lap, and that would have probably ruined the race. But all in all, a really strong night. Turned out way better than I thought it was going to.
Well, good to see, man. We enjoyed watching it. It was extremely entertaining from the broadcast booth. But your team had a really good night. You came home 3rd, 4th, and 6th for JW Racing. Talk a little bit about how you guys came together as a team tonight and what this means for your team championship chances and what that team championship means to you guys.
Well, that's everything. With us coming in so late in the season, that was our main goal, was to go for that team championship, and I think we're making a solid run at it. But each and every week, Justin Rideout, our team owner, he does what he has to do to support us and make sure we have the tools we need to go out there and perform every week. And in tonight, it's a prime example of us just putting the focus on keeping the car straight. We knew it was going to be a wreck fest, so all in all, as we communicate through each and every lap, we get stronger, and I think it's going a long way. So looking forward to the next few races.
Well, man, who do you have to thank here tonight before we let you get back down to your teammates?
Big thank you to Track Racer. Thank you to Justin Rideout and JW Racing, all of our teammates, everybody who puts us out there. Thanks to friends and family who are watching. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting and the team admins. But anyways, thanks so much for all you do, and looking forward to see you next week.
Definitely. Well, we'll be here. Actually, it's not next week. We're actually going to get a 2-week break here before we come back for Texas, and so everybody gets a lot of practice in for that Texas race, which will be a cutoff race for the playoff drivers. But congratulations on a 3rd place finish here tonight, and we will see you in a few weeks at Texas.
Thank you. See you soon.
All right, we will take him down into his booth, and then we will pull Tristan Bailey in if we can find him. First, we got to find him. That's the fun part.
Yeah, it can be a challenge to find some of these guys after the race. Sometimes they get caught up in conversations with other drivers or teammates, and it looks like we have them.
Yes, we do. Tristan Bailey, welcome up back into the booth here with Sean and Jonathan. Congratulations, 2nd place finish, and that probably bumps you back up into the top 5. How you feeling?
I got a bone to pick with y'all. What y'all made for my little name on the broadcast there.
I knew you would too.
But I mean, you ain't lying though. If I'm not the top 10 or 5, I'm usually wrecked out. So
hey,
it kind of goes with it.
It worked out really well tonight, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, man, great job out there. What was the strategy after a few really fast cautions? What were you thinking at that point?
Honestly, to be honest with you, this is the first lap I ran this track all week. Was right before the race, and I couldn't get a good lap for qualifying. You see where I think I qualified 7th. I think it's where they qualified. I can't remember.
7th.
Yep.
And it just seemed like the short run they just all drive away. But as the long run came, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know really how to drive the track because I didn't run it that much. But I ended up finding something that I don't even know what I found honestly, and I just kept running the track the same, and I ended up catching up, finishing P2 there.
Impressive, man. It was a fun one to watch up here In the back of your mind, is there anything you could have done differently to catch that 69 of Vincent Cortez? I mean, I know he was kind of the class of the field there at the end, but it looks like you were catching him with a little bit, and then at the end you just didn't have enough.
It seemed like lap cars were kind of a problem tonight. It seemed like even though when they got new tires, I understand, you're faster. But I had people close on my door going into 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 at times, so it's kind of slowing me up a little bit. I had to be careful so I didn't slap into them and stuff like that. But other than that, I really don't think so, honestly. Maybe if I would have pitted earlier in the first run instead of running all the way out, but I just wasn't sure if a caution would come out with people with new tires or not. So I don't know. He drove a great race. I'm glad he got his first win tonight. I'm just happy to come on P2.
Well, now we get a 2-week break before we head to Texas for the cutoff race. What's your experience at Texas?
I found out that you need to stay the right front at Texas.
Hey, that's all you got to do.
I can back up that statement. I agree.
Well, man, who would you like to thank here tonight before we let you get back down to celebrate?
Reedy for spotting me, and then, of course, being on his team, Murray Reedy Motorsports, and then my sponsor, TJ's team, morethancatefoundation.org. It's for the kids with cancer. They try to help them out the best they can while they're in the hospital for cancer. And thank you guys for broadcasting.
Well, man, always a pleasure to have you up here. Congratulations once again on a very good race. We'll get you back down to your teammates here. But great job, and we will talk to you in a few weeks as we head to Texas.
I sure do hope so.
All right, buddy. Take care.
You too.
Oh, I can't wait for this one, Sean. This is going to be an interview for the ages.
Maybe we should make them wait for a little while.
Oh, yeah, build up the suspense. Maybe we're not pulling him up here.
I mean, just kind of hang out of here for a few minutes and not pull him up into the booth. But, if we did that, I think he would really, really hate us for a little while. But, hey, Vincent, welcome up to the booth, man. Sean and Jonathan up here.
Dude, I don't know what to say. I'm not a loss for words, dude. This is special.
Well,
great bro.
Killer race out there. I mean, great job out there, and of course, you've had that monkey on your back for so long, where you finished fourth a bunch of times, you finished second a couple times, that sort of thing. But man, what is it like to finally win your first race here in Speed Racing Network?
Hey man, it feels better than when I got my truck win, just because of this is like winning this race it elevates my chance to get to the championship race. So this one, it's really special, and I've had to go through a lot recently, and it's just finally, weeks of finally getting better, putting consistent finishes together, and I don't know, man, it just feels good.
Man, I've been in your position this year in the Truck Series, man. I'd raced for SRN 3 years and finally popped one off, and so I hope this is the start of good things for you, like it was for me and my race team. But you had a really fast car tonight, and it looks like you were able to save a little bit better than anybody else on the track. Talk to us a little bit about your strategy and how you're able to take care of your stuff.
It really came down to the support I have from the team. Everybody, I love those guys with all my heart. They just helped me so much, and we discussed things before the race. What steering ratio, what brake bias, and I decided on one. It was kind of a YOLO adjustment at the end, but it worked out. So yeah, it's just really with the team and logging laps throughout the week.
Well, man, I know we're going to have to change your screen now because you were Mr. Never the Groom, and now, man, you're the groom. You're getting married out there right now.
Oh, man.
So
he broke the broadcaster's curse tonight, Sean. Vincent, I picked you to win this race. Man. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate that.
He did all the good stuff out there. Well, who you have to thank here tonight, man?
Of course, the Tank Racing, everybody over there, man. Chicago Heights, Star Tool and Die, Liftworks, Healthcare Billion Incorporated, Raise Energy, 100 Ardon Associates, Butcher Box, Teespring, Common Sense, Zim, really everybody, Tank Racing again, man. Like, those guys, I can't say enough nice things about them, dude. It's wonderful.
Well, we do have to make a little stat correction here. So this is not your first win in Speed Racing Network. Last season you won Texas, which was the last race in the Truck Series. So I apologize for that, but this is your first win here in the Xfinity Series. So congratulations again, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I'm going to tell you what, man, I'm going to party all night, dude. I'm off from school. I'm off for 2 weeks for this league, so it's going to be a good time.
Sounds good, buddy. Well,
think about this. He won Texas in the trucks last year. Where are we going next year?
Mm-hmm.
Going to Texas.
That's one of my favorite tracks down in Atlanta, man. You guys picked it perfectly with the last three, dude.
Well, hey, see, we're here for you. Great job, man. Congratulations once again. We'll get you back down to your booth, but we'll see you here in a few weeks at Texas.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right. Well, Jonathan, I mean, really, that race has really answered a lot of questions, I think. I think we're getting to the point here where we're starting to see this Final Five kind of shape up.
I agree. You're seeing which drivers can be scrappy and get the points like we saw Adrian tonight, but you can also see which guys can just come out here and blast one off on pure speed like Cortez. So, yeah, our top five are starting to take shape, but like every year, we'll have a tough battle there on the cut line no matter what. So it'll be interesting to watch next week. We go to my home track of Texas. We'll also watch out. JBR is going to have a little bit extra sponsorship in this race, a little extra rewards going out to some of the drivers. So make sure you tune in a couple weeks to watch that one.
Well, that's a teaser if I've ever heard it, but 2 weeks from now, so actually 3 weeks, sorry. So December 2nd is when we're talking here. So Thursday, December 2nd at 8:30 p.m. Central. Do not miss it, but also come back for the Phoenix race in the Cup Series. So in the Zona 175 at Phoenix this Sunday at 8 p.m. Central, and we're going to get some answers there as well.
Absolutely, and these Phoenix races have all started out a little shaky, but both races turned out pretty well in the end. So I'm hoping this Cup race on Sunday at Phoenix is the same. And these Cup cars are really hard to drive at this racetrack since the rescan and just the way those Cup cars drive. So it'll be an entertaining one, and any playoff race is going to be entertaining anyway. So make sure you tune in to Speed Racing Network to watch that one as well.
Well, man, everything that we've seen here throughout these playoffs has been fantastic. But you just got to keep on remembering that if you want to stay in the playoffs and you want a chance at that big prize at the end, all you have to do is to go faster.